this is Kathleen Schassler, and I am with Chantel Goulou Brennan. And I hope I got it right that time. Thanks so much for being here with me on Conscious Creator. Chantel is an integrative energy practitioner and teacher, and I actually was, I really enjoyed going through the Reiki 1 certification with you. That was an amazing day. And I had you all to myself. That was so amazing. So thanks so much for being here.
You're welcome. I'm happy to be here.
So as I explained earlier, this is just really kind of a free-flowing opportunity for me and for anybody who's watching, just to get more information on how you got into practicing integrative energy modalities. I know that you have a lot of tools that you use, and one of those is hypnosis, which is particularly interesting to me. But if you can kind of give a background of how you arrived to the place you're at now, and then the work that you're doing.
Well, I really started in childhood. The energy healing is something that I was doing as a child because my mother was suffering from a lot of pain from different issues she was born with, and so I knew where to put my hands. And it's actually when I studied Jinsen Jitsu, which is acupuncture with a needle, that it seems like that information and knowing of these indentation in the body kind of became really like, well, I knew that from something else. It was an internal knowing. I was born, raised, Catholic, and so the idea of past life is not something that was taught to me, but as I recall what was happening in my childhood, I had nightmares of being in a different body and having an experience of suffocating and dying under the rubbles. So I thought it was just a nightmare. But as I began my work, and I was first always very connected to spirit. My concept of God was not in line with the church, and oftentimes I was kicked out of catechism because my questions were not really totally in line with what the priest wanted to hear. Right. So all of this interest with spirit and with healing started in childhood. But it really became became important to me and started to develop when I took Reiki 1. Somehow something was unlocked, and from that point on, everything came to me without effort. The right books, the right people, the right class, and I just couldn't have enough of it. So I just began studying. I had a full-time job on the side. I was a graphic designer working for a travel magazine, and so I was actually the art director, but that was kind of just the work, and my passion was to help people and to continue to do this healing work. And so I took the classes. I attended a 4-year program in energy medicine. I volunteered at the Milford Hospital for 2 years. The hands-on just came easily, and now the shift from doing the graphic design to the energy medicine just also happened naturally. And now this is what I mostly do. All along the way, I was introduced to hypnosis, became certified in 2008. And as I was working with clients, I remember this one person had a pain in her hip, and then spontaneously when I asked her to go to the origin of this pain, which the doctor couldn't explain, she went into a past life, what she describes as a past life as an American Indian. And her husband was stabbing her with a spear in the hip. And so from that point on, that issue just disappeared. So, and there were others like this. So this is when I said, well, I got to find a teacher for that one. if clients are just going in past life, this is not just me having experience, which I've had along the life, during dreams. And there's many ways to remember past lives. And this is something that I experienced even before I was trained to do past life regression. And I tried with several teachers, but because of my work and things, oftentimes the timing wasn't right because of deadline with the magazines and things like this. And then one day, I was actually in Hawaii when this happened. I received an email from somebody on the island about Dolores Cannon. She was the one that developed quantum healing hypnosis therapy, QHHT. And then a couple of weeks later, somebody told me about it, and then someone else mentioned the book, and I said, oh, 3 affirmation, I better check her out. And within a month, I was taking her class. So it was like meant to be. And I think the reason for this is that she worked, and in her technique, she works with the higher self. And that's something I had already been exposed to, working with spirit, calling on to my spirit guides and to help me doing my healing and with people and everything else. So as I implemented her method, it became a very natural way for me to work and request help from the spirit world for people to receive healing. So during the hypnosis, the past life regression, the first thing that I do is that I ask people to have 10 questions that they want to ask their higher self. And I ask their higher self to choose a past life that is going to answer their questions. And from that, it evolved into, from quantum healing hypnosis, the whole thing evolved to something that I call soul-centered hypnosis. And people sometimes will get a quantum healing hypnosis session, which really is more of a way to satisfy your curiosity with past life, calling the higher self, answering basic questions, doing a scan of the body to request healing. But when we do this work, then we stumble upon things that are not part of quantum healing hypnosis. And this is that other work that comes in working with spirit. Sometimes, I have entities around the person. How do you deal with that? And so this is with the help of the higher self. When I stumble into an attachment, sometimes one, sometimes several, I consider them lost souls. They're souls that are sometimes not even realized that they're dead, not realize that they're not in their own body. And they need just the same love, honor, and respect as the person that I have with me. And it would not be right to, in my own conscience, to just cast them out, because then they would be seeking another body. What I do is that I convince them to go to the light. I do essentially what the Native American and some shaman from all over the world. I have my own idea about shamanism. We can talk about that maybe another day. It's called psychopomp, escorting the dead to the light. So I have a conversation with them and I convince them to go. Recently I had a man that had been possessed by a woman and was wrecking his life and harassing him during the night and all these things. And this, when I started talking to this spirit, it became obvious that all it wanted was love. It wanted to have this contact. It wanted this love. And, it was actually not that difficult to, ask the higher self to bring a piece of that unconditional love from source itself. And once she felt it, there was absolutely no, nothing keeping her there. She just went willingly to the light. And, so it's a very gentle process. It's not like the exorcism you see in movies. It's a gentle conversation. Well, it's not always as easy as I make it sound. I've had some difficult cases, and it's not, there isn't everybody that comes to me have these type of attachment. So I may, because I see energy, around the person, the hypnosis session may also include some much deeper clearing of the field, right? So if I'm having a scan of the body and I'm noticing something, I have the higher self maybe focusing on this part of the body, and then I may enlist the person's awareness to let go of whatever is there. and even to tell me when it's completely gone. Because I believe that if that person is involved in their healing, it is going to be a lot more powerful, because every healing is self-healing. They need to see it go, whatever it is that is in their field. Even in the energy medicine session, I often will talk to that person and enlist their help to let go of whatever it is, or even ask them if they really want to receive this energy that I'm working. Because if that person is just standing there and kind of expecting to get a pill from me and get better, it's only temporary. As a matter of fact, I found that I've done a little research like this several years ago with people that were coming regularly to me. And I began to give them exercise in between session. It could be, acupressure point to use, or several mudras. Mudras are really good also. It's like yoga for your hands, and we can play with it if you want another time. And I noticed that if they were really doing this, they didn't need to have a session every week. They could have it every 2 weeks. And every 3 weeks, and then they would just have it just to maintain. And this is what we want. We don't want a person to come back every week, every 2 weeks for a session. That's just going to make them feel better, take care of their pain, and then they have to come back. What we really want is just we're there to kick in the body with the energy using a different modality. I like Jinsun Jitsu that works on the meridian system, because that really will work very quickly on the physical body. Reiki is really good for stress, for pain, for balancing the chakra, taking care of emotions and clearing things. It's both of them work very well together, because also Reiki is something you just channel and let flow through you. So you don't really need to analyze things. Jinsun Jitsu, on the other hand, you've got your left brain, using all of that knowledge to do this. So I found that if a person was not doing anything, within 4 or 5 days, they would just start seeing their symptom coming. And that's why I'm really big when a person comes to me for some help, to give them exercise. Even with hypnosis, I may just teach them EFT. I may teach them a little thing to help them with cravings and things. Whatever I have in my bag of tricks that is going to help them, visualization. So I put it all together. If a person comes to me for energy medicine, they may end up doing some hypnosis. They may end up taking classes that are going to empower them. Right. All of this is, to me, the same thing, really different approach to help people in different ways. Even the classes are all geared to help yourself. The exercises that I give, there are lots of hands-on, right, are going to help you in one way or another. My Reiki 1 class is a good example of that, and you took that. And so, yeah. What did you think of it?
I thought it was fantastic. I wish I lived a little closer to you, because I would probably see you more often. I live in about an hour from you. And because I've been recuperating for the past year, energy is not always, so I always see your drum circles, and maybe one day I'll get down there, but but I love that kind of community creation, and I think we need to see more of that. So, and is that part of the healing work when you have groups as well? People are healing each other through their stories, or is there a sharing that goes on that
on the second Friday of the month, it's kind of a drum for fun type of thing, which is the name I had used for a while. And we use all types of drum, from djembe and frame drums, all percussions and rattles and things like this, even Native American flutes and stuff, whatever people want to use. And we drum quite a bit. And then I always introduce a topic with a guided journey. So there is something that's going to help people and also expand their mind. It's great to come and relax and, have interaction and have community. But I do this also to awaken people to the possibility that they're more than their physical body. There's more to life than just eating and, copulating and that kind of thing. So, and then the 4th Friday of the month is what I call the shamanic study and practice. It was originally created for the students that are in the Mastery of Awareness program. That starts with a Shamanism 101 class, but there's a lot of other class that will help you expand your awareness of the multiverse, of reality, of who you are, of really exploring even your own energy body, and the energy body, you know, that is way beyond what we consider, you know, part of the field, like the meridian and the chakra and all this. We go into that, but there's also all that space up to your past life. So the divination class, for example, is one that in which you literally stretch that muscle little by little. We go out and out and out, so you can really feel that you are more than this physical body.
Right.
And so in that fourth Friday of the month, the students, yes, will, if some of them have taken shamanic healing, for example, they will be invited to, when people request the healing, to perform, to apply whatever they've learned.
Right.
Yes.
Now,
every circle is different. I come prepared with a theme, but you know, sometimes that theme or whatever comes out the window because everybody else needs something else. You have to be able to adapt to whatever the group needs, and that's the fun part of it too.
Right. Yeah. It's really interesting. I think it would be, when you're creating these communities or you're training all the people, you know, maybe light workers that go on and maybe they go on to teach others or heal others, it would be nice to be able to gather all of the people that are light workers or spiritually minded. We could be a really active force for good if, you know, somehow there's so much polarization here in, you know, in this time that we're living in. So it's, I think that the light workers might be an interesting way to try and gather a really big force for good. You know, when you read information about how, like when thousands of people get together and meditate, right, how it influences reality. So maybe you can be a force for good in this way. Gather up all of these people that you're training, and it's like herding cats, I imagine.
I could.
It's so difficult, you know.
Well, I just have so many, only so many days available to do all of this. And
you're doing so much already, you know.
I do, and I like the idea, but it also has to. We're always looking for somebody else to be that leader, to be the person that. But I see it more as a way of life.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like we're going to get together on Sunday. It's not like we're going to get together or we're going to meditate 2 hours a day and we're going to feel good and be whatever we are. After that, you know, it's living it every single day and being in harmony with our environment, respecting every person that comes to us, having an open mind to anything that happens around us, not being judgmental and feel separated, and then creating fear and boundaries. And it's great to have these movements and these events, but they come and they go. And people need to start to realize that it starts with them, not with the leader that's going to get them there from 5 to 6 on that day. It starts with them every single day, when they're driving, when they're in the store, when they're at work, when they're with their children. Every single day, that love, honor, and respect for each being. From starting with the practice of recycling, starting with all these little things. It's all important. So it's great to have community and have fun together. And it does lift our spirit. If we can then carry that into everyday life, then it has a purpose.
Right. Yeah, I understand that.
And this is why I teach shamanism. This is what I see and that I take from these indigenous culture, is to begin to realize, first of all, your connection with the multiverse. When you start to perceive in what we call the three world, the lower world, the middle world, which is here and now, and the upper world, the world of the soul and spirit, then you have an expanded view of who you are. And then as you go on with the different class, this when you, and the way we open sacred space, it's not simply to have a gesture and a ceremony to feel like we're creating something special. It's actually to reconnect us with the environment, with the elements of the direction, for example. All these elements are part of our body. If you look at the Chinese medicine, 5-element theory, and even Ayurvedic medicine, all of these elements are present in the food that we eat, in our behavior, in our personality. We are a conglomerate of these elements. So we are really part of this earth and part of this universe as such.
Right.
And it's bringing balance to everything, even in our thoughts, in our emotions, in our body, in our physical body, with the type of food that we eat that is going to help us balance one other element. So when we are creating that sacred space, honoring the direction, we're actually feeling our space, ourselves, within the cardinal point, and that center pole. So we're reconnecting ourselves to nature itself, to humanity.
Right.
It's not just something separate from us. Like I have this altar right there, and it's pretty, and it's got this. No, the altar is an extension of yourself.
Right.
It's actually an expression of your desire to connect to spirit. That's what it is.
Right. I think that it's difficult if you are plugged into certain thought systems, or if you even are putting a lot of attention on, say, television or different forms of media, because you're going to see there's a lot of suffering that is going to be reflected back, and so I think there's a lot of people that are kind of living in those thought systems, right? And living in a lot of fear today. And so I like the idea that what you're saying, that just by showing unconditional love ourselves, right, throughout our day, that's going to improve the world. But I think it seems like so much more is needed today, because of what's happening with the environment, and just so many issues you say that are just kind of outrageous, the way that people are suffering around the globe, that it seems like that maybe just more is needed. And I know there are a lot of people that are doing great things too, to bring people together to do things. So, and maybe this is kind of what this podcast, it's a very simple thing here that I'm doing, and I'm still recuperating. Really, I'm still not back to full form to go out and join the workforce or whatever that might be. But hopefully this is a small contribution that will help to enlighten other people, and
Absolutely. There is so many different ways that people are helping when you're talking about these conditions. Some people are called to go on site and be of help, and that's wonderful. There is others that will maybe use, the Global Coherence Project, by HeartMath, and use meditation for that part of the world to, affect the vibration of the whole. It is not, it's just like comparing, should I meditate or should I just eat that type of food? Well, you have to do both.
Right. Just do whatever you can and keep doing it.
We are all equally important in our contribution. The action is going to be different from one person to the next at one point or another. So one day you're going to be having an active role in which you'll lend a hand to someone.
Right.
Actively involved in helping. And another day you'll be praying for them. You'll be meditating on the issue. You'll be focusing on clearing your thoughts from these negative thoughts of pity or fear or separation, of judgment. And you'll be watching these thoughts in yourself. So as you continue to cultivate loving thoughts, your vibration itself affects the people around you. If we all focus on ourselves first, even in the action to helping others, first focus on ourselves, then that energy, that vibration is going to help all the people around each person. This is what's going to change slowly everything else.
Right. I think, part of the challenge, I suppose, that I was dealing with being, recuperating, not being, having my full energy. And when I think about how many others are in the same boat, because when you look at the epidemic with the opioids, when you look at the number of people that have cancer, that have autoimmune disease, that have mental health challenges, it's pretty epidemic. So I think if there are people, probably a lot of people like me, who want to be out there doing something, but you're kind of inhibited, I can't get out there and do it. So there's other things, I guess, that I am trying to do, but I guess I deal with that frustration. And I feel like a lot of people have been taken out of the game because of all of this illness, And
then we have to thank technology like the one you're using that enables you to do what you're doing from wherever you are.
Amazing. Yeah, it's amazing. It really is. So, and I think that must be really exponentially helping the education of the planet to have, people just talking on podcasts everywhere, people listening to other people's stories, because really other people's stories is really where I think we learn the most, at least it's been that way for me, as a reporter, and I've kind of learned about my communities through my work, That's how I met you, was through a story.
It's inspiring, but we can never duplicate what somebody else is doing. Like even if you're taking courses and you're expecting to do exactly what your teacher is doing, you're setting up yourself for failure.
Right.
Because you're going to learn, you're going to be inspired by, a talk, an action, a class. You have to integrate that and then make it work for yourself.
Right.
And in that process, this is when you bring something new. This is where you become the teacher as well.
Right. Yeah. Right?
So, yes, these stories can be inspiring, but not when we're trying to be somebody else. Then what do we vibrate?
Right. And your work, I think, helps people to find even themselves, right?
Exactly.
Because, there's so many influences that we lose ourselves.
Well, each person has come to Earth with very specific purpose and skill to bring something to life itself.
Right.
And that's just sometimes difficult for them to remember when they're looking outside of themselves, when they're looking at these people they think are successful and they're not. And I think that also it could be interesting to hear somebody's life. It's not always that inspiring for some people. I can see so many people that just are in awe of this person or that one, and they just don't look at the beauty inside them. So there's a double-edged sword there. And I think a lot of people live looking and wanting to be somebody else, and that's just going to make them suffer.
Right. Yeah, and a lot of that has to do with programs, right? You get programmed, whether
right. The media, number one, the fashion industry, very big one, especially for women, but also for men. And but I think you were talking about TV and horror on TV. This is a lot of. The first thing I did is actually just kill my TV. But 20 years without TV, I just I get my news online with reputable source. I just I don't watch regular TV at all
I know.
anymore for a long time, and I think it just kind of cleanses your mind.
It does.
Gives you a new perspective of life because it's based on sensation and
Well,
manipulation.
I think I felt imprisoned by it in a way. Like I would feel like, yes, to sit through those newscasts would be like, you know, being in hell almost. Some of them, you know, it's just kind of force fed this, especially with all the military action and all of that. You know, it's anyway. But there is so much other content that you can find today. So, and it looks like net neutrality may have had some success. I think they're still trying to protect it in the Senate, but I guess these are the issues that we need to focus on today. You know, keeping the internet free. You know,
Right.
so I also noticed on your website you have a connection with the Edgar Cayce Institute.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting. I've learned a little bit about Edgar Cayce in the past number of months.
Yes, this
So,
is something that had come my way a long time ago, and read several books on him, and the concept of the higher self was also introduced to me by Edgar Cayce before I even worked with the quantum healing hypnosis that uses the higher self during the session. Yes.
that's pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still reading through. I have a book of Edgar Cayce's, the Edgar Cayce Companion. I'm still making my way through that, but it's really fascinating, fascinating reading.
It is.
So, so as far as your work with the hypnosis, is that mainly for past life regression, or you have a whole host of issues that people will come to you for hypnosis?
Yes. All of the issues. I do also, the regular addiction. I'm a regular, certified hypnotherapist, so I can deal with the addiction, the regular smoking and eating and things. It's not my favorite subject, but and I don't advertise it really. If I prefer to work with the past life and also with the higher self, and so we can address a lot of emotional issue, spiritually related, past life related issues, fears and things like that, and wanted behaviors with that technique of soul-centered hypnosis.
It's pretty amazing.
Yes, yes. And if people want to know more about this, they just, I have a website just for that, which is called soul-centered hypnosis.com.
Okay.
My other website is integrativeenergymedicine.com.
We'll include that information as well.
Right.
Yeah. We'll be able to put that up on the screen so that people can find you, because you do have a great resource there, and you can spend a lot of time reading through materials. You also have a lot of videos on YouTube, and so it's a terrific resource. I'm not sure where you were on time today.
I have a couple minutes, 10 minutes left.
Right, and then, and if this works out for you, maybe we can do it again sometime.
Absolutely, and then
we can both practice
something more specific, like either talking about acupressure and mudras, or talking
right
about Reiki or something more specific. Yes.
Right, yeah. There is a lot happening, I think, here in Connecticut. It seems Reiki is everywhere now,
It's good because it used to be this secret modality that, this is just the way it was presented to the West. Mrs. Takata, who brought it to the West for better students to take notes. So even when I learned Reiki and I was given the symbol, I was told they were secret and I just shouldn't be sharing it. And within, I think it was maybe a year or two after, Diane Stein came up with her book, I think it's called Simple Reiki or Simply Reiki, and the symbols are in there. Then you had CDs with the symbols, everything came out. And the good thing about this is that it was no longer this weird thing, spooky thing that people were afraid of. And that's why now we're using it in hospitals. So it's really good. And now also I've done a lot of research in Reiki and taken several classes. So I put together a program that brought back a lot of the lost knowledge. exercises in which you can use things like your breath, or you can use things like channeling the energy to either clear blocks or charge, recharge really quickly. Rather than doing the whole practice, hands-on practice that can take a half hour, you could just do this within a couple of minutes to give yourself a boost. And I also have specific exercise that I've also added. So I don't know when you took your class, and I may have new things that have come up after that were included, and some of which are to boost your immune system, to balance the thyroid, because those are things that we're all dealing with. And eye treatment also, because everybody needs it. So a lot of little things that have come into Reiki 1 to make it really the level to help yourself. And as I consider the attunement to be simply me clearing your field, aligning your chakras, opening your crown, and whatever I'm doing, these gesture and everything, who knows really what they're for. I call the guides, I call Mikao Usui, I ask the masters to do the attunement for you. And a lot of people will say during the meditation that we have, during the 4 attunements of Reiki 1, there's specific meditation. Other classes don't even know about that, in which you release fear, you receive gift, there's different purpose for each. They often say that they see the masters doing the attunement. So that's one thing, but the real attunement to the energy of Reiki, which is the energy of source. Rei is the non-energy, and the Ki is the Chi, that this particle. Now, the non-energy is the space between the particles, right? The 99.99% of everything. Right. And that space is really consciousness. So it's divine consciousness that's guiding that Ki. So Reiki is the energy of source. When you hear this Reiki has this frequency and this Reiki has this frequency, it's because the practitioner thinks it has something to do with it. But if you truly are a pure channel of that energy, it is the receiver that decides the frequency of that. So during the 21 days, when you do Reiki on yourself, that's the real attunement. You're actually attuning yourself to the energy of source. And this is what reconnects you to your soul purpose, to the higher vibration. Mm-hmm. And when we try to put the higher self, who's the higher self? Well, the higher self is really the voice of your soul. You raise your vibration during the hypnosis to call your higher self, so you can channel it, your higher self speaks through you. So it's not an entity separate from you, but it's you at a higher vibration. So during my hypnosis session, either quantum healing or during the soul-centered hypnosis, I use a particular meditation or visualization, really, more than meditation, because you're in a state of hypnosis, to raise your vibration, and so your higher self can come through and you can speak as your higher self. So this is kind of, do you see how it's all put together, Reiki? It's all connected to me in my head. It's hard to say, oh, I'm doing this and this, because it's just the same multidimensional being that I'm studying here.
It's like you have different hats on.
I have these different things, and they all come together, and it makes sense in my head. I hope they make sense for you and your listeners.
It makes me think about, like, I remember when I was learning to ride a horse, and trying to remember how I had to, do things with each foot and each hand, and it's like it was really difficult for me to learn that for a little while. But then it seems at some point, all of it just comes together and it makes sense, and you just do it naturally. So that's probably what happened.
In a car, it's just all these different things. So suddenly, as you use them again and again, it all becomes part of one body of knowledge.
And I would imagine, from what I've heard, that when you actually start working with clients, that you really start to learn, right? More quickly.
Oh, absolutely. When you practice anything you learn, that's when you do the actual, the understanding of what you always have to practice. This is the number one thing, yeah. Because also, as you practice, what's going to happen is that you're going to discover new things your teachers never taught you.
Right.
And then you have something to give back. This is how our species is evolving. We always have to give back, otherwise we stagnate. You can't just keep it for yourself, and it has to come out. Right. Yeah.
And so, I just wanted to talk a little bit about your art before.
Oh.
Sign off. Are you still painting? I did see some of your beautiful pictures when I was at your place.
I haven't in several months, but I'm itching to do it again. I started painting when I was a kid, I got my first set of oil painting when I was 14, and I've painted since. It evolved a lot of different things. I kind of self-taught myself more or less.
Right.
I did take some classes in Beaux-Arts in Versailles, but I didn't. It wasn't my formal education. And but I used to do reproduction. My family has a lot of reproduction that I did when I was a kid of different painters. So it's kind of the old way of practicing. They used to do it. The painters would follow a master and then master their style. And oftentimes there is certain masterpiece that we're even wondering, are they all from the same hand? Same hand there, because the student were really good at learning what the master was doing and learning that special style and all. So I did a lot of these type of reproduction. So my parents have some Modigliani and Van Gogh and Monet in their house. Their reproduction, of course.
But isn't it, for artists, you're still a channel for whatever art you're producing.
Oh, yes.
So isn't the idea that everything that is or ever will exist already exists?
You could see it that way, because a lot of my painting now come from my meditation, my dreams and things. So I paint kind of, sometimes people would think weird things, but I discovered doing shamanism one day that I have in the upper world a library of my paintings. So one day I took that trip up there, and then I noticed in this structure that was almost like the Guggenheim was just turning, these climbing staircase where all these paintings, that was my library of already painted things. So once in a while I take a journey up there and I look at paintings and I say, oh, I like this one, I'm going to make something out of these too, since these two are awesome. I'll just get some inspiration. It is the beauty of studying the principle of journey, shamanic journey, which is nothing esoteric, really. The way I teach it, using the drum, you have a 4 beat per second. That 4 beat per second is going to entrain your brain in theta wave. So it's nothing, spooky and voodoo or whatever. And then I teach also 2 other methods, a yogic breath that can do the exact same thing, and also modern technology. We use isochronic tones. So during that class, you learn different ways to entrain your brain in this, and you can pretty much journey about anything. So one day I had a dream that I could not remember, and I thought, I have a library of my paintings, so why not a library of my dreams? And I just took the journey again to the upper world, and I first got into this room where there was a little cubby hole with parchment rolled up, and I said, no way, I'm not reading anything. And as soon as I said that, there was a table with an interesting contraption like in sleek wood, like a little dome where I put my head there, and certainly dreams started to flash, old dreams, and poof, in one rut, the one I just had that morning just came just completely full. Right. And I used it not too long ago during a class. I was drumming for the group or something, and I thought, I have that dream that bugs me. I'm going to go up there. And again, it came. So I know it works. I know we have a library of our dream in the upper world. So anytime you have one of those you can't remember in the morning, just take a trip.
So your subconscious remembers everything, right? The subconscious?
You can call it the subconscious or the superconscious for these kinds of information to be what Edgar Cayce called the superconscious. I consider that when we are working with anything that has to do with this life, we're dealing with the subconscious. And then when we're going into past lives, future lives, other individuation, because what are past lives is time, if time is an illusion. That's another topic. And so this would be part of the superconscious. So anything that is, part of the, the higher consciousness, and it links us together, is that superconscious.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. It really is.
It's all words, really.
Right.
We're just, and as we create words and label, we have to be careful how it separates us.
Right.
From the creation itself and from each other.
Tricky, it really is. So
yeah.
Words can.
That's why going back to that silent being, the inner self, and that meditation can be so empowering for anybody who gives themselves a chance to spend 10 to 20 minutes a day to just go within for a little bit.
Right.
That's where the growth starts, when you start doing something like this. And when you do the Reiki on yourself, that's another thing. For 21 days, you're going to be doing that.
Right.
You're going to be cherishing yourself. So it's very transformational, that one class. I have a lot of testimonial on media that I haven't put on my site or anywhere, but I wouldn't say that every person, but a great majority of the people that have taken the class, something has happened in their life. They've felt the shift. They've suddenly things,
Right.
turn out then for the better. They're finding more purpose. They're discovering things that are coming their way that they didn't think of before, but they're really enjoying it. It's just
it's part of when you don't allow your ego to control this experience that we're having, when you just allow and receive what comes, and that often isn't easy for everyone because we resist what's coming to us. Some things that we don't want come to us, but I guess that's how you learn how to work with energy, right? You want to draw what you want, the experiences that you want to you. So I guess that's kind of what I was trying to do with this podcast as well, to draw experiences like this to me where I can sit and talk to someone as knowledgeable as yourself. So the technology is beautiful today that allows us to do this. So sitting in your Milford home, I have beautiful pictures from the Long Island Sound that morning because you live so close to the water. It was such a beautiful day when I went out there. So you're really lucky to be on the water down there. I definitely think. Do you get out and walk on the beach much?
Yes, I have a dog who needs his daily walk, so that's my excuse to go around on the beach and I'll take a walk. I'll swim in the summer. I need to be outside every day.
Right.
Doesn't matter, it's just the beach or the woods, and that's the beauty of Milford. We have both here.
Right. So where do you go into the woods by you?
There's a park, Eisenhower Park. That's a really nice little park. But one of my favorite is Westwood Trail in Guilford. That has really great hikes.
Yeah. Is it the Regicides? Is that in that area? Regicides? I guess there's some big cliffs where you can see the whole sound. I'm hoping to get down there.
There's cliffs and things, but I don't think that's the one that you can see the sound from. It's more than the Westwood Trail.
So I think of you when I look at those pictures, and I'm surrounded by trees, huge, so it's all green around me, and you have that beautiful blue. So and just incredible sunshine down there as well that day. So yes. You are really lucky, and I'm glad that you're getting out there and enjoying it too. So that makes
sometime.
Yes. I hope to. So I hope we can, we'll talk again. We'll talk soon.
Okay.
Humanity has been on an epic journey of discovery, learning the truth about the world we live in. New discoveries about the true origins of humanity, ancient history, free energy, as well as the systematic corruption of world governments are now on the forefront of our daily reality. Is the world headed towards destruction based on control and power? Or is an opportunity now being presented to shift and uplift into a higher consciousness? My name is Mel V, co-founder and creative director of Conscious Consumer Network, an independent broadcast network that was launched on the 1st of January 2015. In the last 3 years, Conscious Consumer Network has broadcast over 2,800 shows in multiple languages, featuring guests from across the world, whilst creating media that is aimed at the creation of a free, fair, peaceful, just, sustainable world. Conscious Consumer Network provides full training and an interactive support network for all broadcasters, and we are always looking for inspiring and educational content.
Hi, this is Lady Liberty.
And this is Miro Siegel.
In 2018, Conscious Consumer Network has expanded to multiple broadcast locations, increasing our availability and reach across the world, remaining on the cutting edge of independent media. If we wish to create a better world, we must first create better media, geared towards real education instead of indoctrination.
You guys really are what changing the world is going to be about. It's educating kids at a grassroots level.
Having become a pillar of stability in the turbulent world of independent media, we have even more going on in 2018. Conscious Consumer Network is a publicly funded network, and we rely on all of you to keep us on the air. Show your support for independent media by donating to our 2018 Network Support Fund. Dare to seek a better world. Support independent media.